We are going to spend the next, I don't know, Dave, how long we have blocked off for this? Like 17 hours?
You got it. Whatever you need, man.
All right. So for the next like 17 minutes or 17 hours, we're going to be talking to the one and only Dave Robles from Los Angeles, California, who is going to do an Ask Me Anything. So this is, I got to pull up the Facebook group here, make sure I got it live. This is literally, we are here for you guys to answer questions and see what we got to do. And this is the first time we've gone live, Dave, inside the Agent Power Huddle Facebook group.
Really?
So,
All right.
This is the maiden voyage. So while I'm trying to get everything set up and make sure I got the, we got users. Hi, let's see. It just says Facebook user. Why does it say Facebook user? It's supposed to be pulling in the, people's names. So I'll go check Facebook itself, make sure I got the people's names here. And
I know Facebook user. He's one of my friends too.
They say it's working. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So we can't figure out how. I don't know who your name is. I'm going to go check Facebook group so we can see your name, but anonymously, at least type in your question. What questions you have for Dave? Dave did an amazing presentation in Agent Power Huddle a week or two ago about how he uses seller webinars and buyer webinars. Basically, just he's crushing it in LA. So Dave, while we're waiting for people to type in some questions, because this is an Ask Me Anything. We are literally here, guys, to answer your questions. So whatever questions you guys have, let us know. And Dave's going to answer them. Until then, Dave, what would you say people should do to get started?
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started, because this all came from the March lockdown that LA and a lot of the country had to, succumb to, where, for a while we couldn't show houses. We still can't have open houses. And there's a lot of restraints on what we can do to generate business person to person out there. So I thought, okay, how can I get myself in front of as many clients as possible? The obvious answer was video. So we launched our first seller strategy session back in, I want to say this was late April. And it was a huge success. For that very first one, I think we had like 70 people sign up, and we had about 35 people show up, which is pretty average. You're going to get about 40 to 50% of the people actually show up who signed up. So we launched a webinar, and we used social media to advertise it. We also marketed it into our 27,000 person email database. So the topics, it's really important.
Can I ask you a question though?
Please.
Do you need to have an email database? And by the way, I now have open, I think what's going on, so for users, for Tristan, Laura, Brian, and Laura, who's watching this thing, if you guys have questions, I guess you have to authorize StreamYard if you want us to be able to like display your name. Otherwise, I can just read your comments on Facebook. So if you guys got questions who are watching, please jump in. Do you need to have an email list in order to do this? Okay.
No, in fact, most of the people who signed up came from social media.
Okay. And Tristan's already got a question, if you can see it here. This is from Tristan. She said, what platform, where do you run ads, and as an ad spend? So
good question. We ran it on Zoom. For the first one, we dedicated, I believe, $100 towards our ad spend. We eventually bumped that up a little bit, but for the very first one, we just threw $100 out at it. And we ended up getting 70 people signed up.
And did that come mainly from the ads or from the email list, or both?
The first one was split pretty evenly. About half the people came from my email database, and half the people came from social media spend.
Okay, so that's incredible. Okay, so for $100, like those of you watching, do you understand how many seller leads that you had people? Because if they're coming to a seller webinar, what was the topic of the webinar?
It was. Let's see if I remember. This is going back. How to sell your home during a pandemic. This is April, keep in mind. Yep. How to sell your home as is. Advertising your realtor should be doing that actually works. And how to negotiate with the 3 different types of buyers out there.
Love it. So people coming to this, though, they're highly qualified, right? Like, these are people raising their hands saying, like, if they're showing up to how do you sell a home in a pandemic, these are people that are fairly intentional on selling a house, I'd imagine, correct?
Yeah, one woman actually sent me an email while we were having the webinar asking me if I could come and take a look at her house, which was listed with another realtor and about to expire. So yeah, we ended up getting another listing out of that as well from the very first webinar. Since then, we've done webinars pretty regularly since April for my team, because I run a geographic farming team. So we did webinars in all their little neighborhoods.
I love it. So let's see here. Tristan said, could he share his graphic or the ad you ran? Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have access to that right now. Do you have access to the ad? You used a video, didn't you, to promote that?
Yeah, we call it a commercial. It was basically, and I'm glad you asked that, Tristan, because we did a static invite, just like a graphic. And then we did another invite that was me on video just going, hey, Dave Robles, want to invite you to a seller strategy sessions happening on Friday, 1 o'clock. We're going to go over 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. Join us on Friday. That video ad outperformed the static graphic ad like 10-1. It wasn't even close.
Interesting.
It wasn't even close.
It's so interesting. All right, so I just invited someone to join us for a minute. I love StreamYard, dude. I'm having so much fun with this already, Dave. This is so cool. So check this out. I got this question posted which said, have you used outsourced homeowner data from platforms like Property Radar? And my thought was, I want to know what he means by that. So I just invited Brian Clark, Be Known Advertising.
Yeah, Brian.
So hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
Look how fun this is. So Brian, what do you mean by your question, dude? Have you used outsourced homeowner data from platforms like Property Radar? What do you mean?
Definitely. So Property Radar gives you the ability to download a list of clients for Facebook or for Google that you can then import into either platform. So we can go in and you can farm a particular geolocation in Property Radar, download that list via encrypted phone numbers. Facebook will match that list to users, and then you can target them specifically. Have you used Property Radar or Oracle, Remind, any of those outside homeowner data platforms to target with this?
Sort of, but not as directly as you laid it out. We have used, you can actually pull addresses from a geographic farm and put them into Facebook. And Facebook will do its best to pull the data. It's probably not as complete as using Property Radar, but it's decent. And it does get us people that they're not our friends, but we can follow them and sort of geotag them, geotarget them with Facebook.
Absolutely. I know the primary identifiers that Facebook looks for is first name, last name, phone number, email. What kind of a success match rate have you had by pulling in the addresses specifically?
That would be a question for my ops manager. He handles kind of that part of it, but I can find out for you. It's definitely not as high as like using a specific system like Property Radar, I imagine.
Definitely.
I would say do it. Absolutely do it. Do it.
We do for our clients on a regular basis. That's why I was asking if you were running it. We've seen pretty good success.
We are all about geofarming, and let's face it, the future of geofarming is digital geofarming, and it's not that easy to do anymore since you can't launch an ad geographically on Facebook, and soon you won't be able to do it on YouTube or Google either. So,
well, I think once this is over, you and I should connect and have a little chat about it. I don't want to steal your thunder on here. I just want to ask a question.
You're not stealing your baby. You're adding to the thunder.
That's why I invited you on here for a minute, Brian. So I know you're in the middle of doing other stuff. You can go do your thing. But I was just like, how cool is this? This is like running like a real show. Like, and welcome to Studio Brian. All right, Brian, thanks for stopping by. See? Yeah. So Brian, drop your info in the chat. I'll connect you guys up in a message later. We can have you guys join.
Thanks, man.
Sounds like a game plan. Thanks for having me.
Isn't that fun?
That's awesome, dude. That's so awesome.
All right. So if you guys want, so someone just posted here, if you guys want your name and profile to show up when you ask a question here, you have to give StreamYard permission. So you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. That will authorize some of you guys that are popping up here just as like unknown Facebook user. You go to StreamYard.com/Facebook to authorize yourself, right? Like someone just typed, all right, where'd it go? Rad, which I know from looking at the screen, I think that was actually Tristan. We all want to be in the chat. All right, Tristan, you want to jump in and ask a question? Let me. I'll direct message you the link so you can jump into the studio here. Come join us. Join us in the studio, Tristan. All right, what other questions you guys got, Dave? I mean, I got plenty of questions for Dave myself, which was, if you were going to start from scratch, you have no email list. Let's just say you have a neighborhood. You don't have a farm in this neighborhood. Do you have to do things first to like start to warm up a farm, or can you go straight to just having like a seller webinar?
You can go straight to having a seller webinar. We've done this in all my other team members' farms, and some of my team members are just getting started, weren't very well known in the farm. We did one, we sent out an email blast, but we also, it was heavy on social media, lots of Silver Lake hashtags. There's a neighborhood called Silver Lake here in Los Angeles area. So anyway, we ended up getting, I want to say 50 people signed up and like 23 people showing up. One listing for $1.7 million directly from the webinar.
Okay, say those numbers again. So you did a webinar in Silver Lake, and what were the numbers from it? You
had 50 people sign up, okay. 23 people show up, okay. One listing for $1.7 million that we sold. 50
people sign up, about half showed up. Mm-hmm. One listing over what period of time? How long did it take before the listing showed up?
That was quick. We were there a couple of days later. We did a partial Zoom listing pres back then. We were on the market within a few weeks and done.
And when was that? When was that first one in Silver Lake that you guys did? How long ago was that?
That was probably in May.
And have you do follow up with those 23 people? Like, have any more listings come out of it?
Not yet, but they're all leads. They're all in our database. I mean, and that's the beautiful thing about this. Like when I just did one last week, and the webinar was why you should not buy a house if you're a first-time buyer. Okay, how's that, right? And of course, the answer was because you should probably think about buying a 2, 3, or 4 unit property first, and then buy your house. So, we got 67 people signed up. I think only 20 people showed up to that, but I've got 67 buyer leads, really good buyer leads.
That's incredible. And do you think, and you and I have talked about this offline, do you think the power is in the commercials, these videos that you do beforehand? Was that what's causing the amount of people to sign up?
I think the power is in the video, but I think it's in having 4 really hot topics. Nobody wants to sit through a buyer seminar. No one wants to know the 100 points to buying a freaking house. Give them 4 things, right?
That's 4 things about selling your house. The 4 things. Yeah. What are they?
The 4 things, like we went over, what are the best deals in Los Angeles? How do you identify a good, multi-unit property? How to negotiate with the seller. I forget what the 4th one was, but really specific topics.
Interesting. Okay, so you know what I just made? We've talked about this before, but I never made the connection. Do you remember, and we'll get to your question, whoever just asked that, Tristan, I'll get to your question in 1 second. Do you remember Craig Proctor direct response style advertising from the early 2000s?
Yeah.
There was a lead, and guys, if you don't remember Craig Proctor, he still exists, but he was one of my first coaches, was this guy, Craig Proctor, out of Canada. He was from the Dan Kennedy School of Marketing, if you know what that is in terms of like direct response marketing. And he had this thing called the advertorial. It was an advertisement, but written like an editorial article in a newspaper, because this is so long ago when people used to read newspapers.
These were 800 numbers.
Right. Well, but the ad was like the top 9 mistakes that buyers make when shopping for their first house, and it was a long form article talking about basically what buyers mistakes they could make, and then it would give the top 3, and it would say dial the 800 number to get the special report to get the other six of them.
Right.
I think you're doing the same concept in a way, right? You're saying here's 4 hot topics. You're just putting in the video format, right?
That's what everybody's doing. I mean, you look at video, it's how to, the top this, the reasons why. I mean, that's what's working on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, if we want to steal an idea from YouTube, do you ever do any top 10 lists?
We haven't.
Dude, we should brainstorm some ideas on top 10 lists. My buddy runs a YouTube channel called Top Tens, TENZ. He literally makes 7 figures off of YouTube top 10 videos, and he just cranks them out until they find ones that hit and go viral. Top 10s, he has like a couple. I'll pull up how many subscribers he has. It's absurd. You could do some top 10s real estate mistakes and things like that. And we can have
you know what? I did a video for the top 8 mistakes that agents make. And it's on YouTube. Go to our YouTube channel, Think Real Estate Group, if you want to see that and a few others. But you're right, we have done a top video. It hasn't killed it. I was hoping it'd get some Google juice. I really went out of my way to use TubeBuddy to really nail the SEO on it, but it has not taken off.
Did you say Google juice? Just checking.
Yeah, I think I did.
Is that like gin and juice, but different?
It's better. Google juice, man. That's like somebody types in something and you pop up.
All right, 2 questions here. We got one that says, Dave, are you using lead ads through Facebook or a landing page?
We've used both, and I think we use the lead ads, which just auto populates their data into the form.
Okay. Love it. Tristan, let me know if that answered your question. And by the way, guys, if you want to click that little link so you can approve your person so it doesn't say anonymous Facebook user. I mean, we're friends with all, I don't know who you guys are. All right, let's see here. This is from Lindsay. Lindsay says, the farm I want to dominate has an average age of 75 or absentee kids who inherited it. How would you reach out to seniors who may or may not even know what an email is?
Good question. In Silver Lake, the very first listing, that $1.7 million listing, was a retired 70-something-year-old couple.
Okay. And and they came on the webinar?
They came on the webinar.
So is the step one here to make sure we know that even 70-year-olds use the internet? Is that step one?
I mean, yeah, I think even 70-year-olds are using the internet. I mean, my mother-in-law, God bless her, she's 82, and she's all over Zoom, Is everybody? No, but there's going to be an amount that are.
Do you use direct mail ever? Have you driven from direct mail to a webinar or only online to webinar?
We have not driven direct mail to a webinar. That's not a bad idea. Why not?
I mean, so I've known Dave for 15 years. Dave used to use a lot of direct mail. You had some really creative pieces. So I was curious.
Yeah,
I might even have one on my desk if I can find it. There's a local team that used to run a lot of home seller, home buyer webinars, and they would do a lot of direct mail, like a multi-fold panel that looked like it was like this big event. And they used to drive to an in-person, and then COVID started. Now they drive to a webinar. So I don't know what their cost per piece is and whether it's more effective to do a just straight up video campaign or combine both.
Well, let me share next level that we're going with this.
Okay.
We're now using a system called Click Meeting, which you can then use your recorded webinar and advertise it anytime. Like I can have a webinar tomorrow at 3:00, and the user shows up and they think it's a live webinar, but it's not. It's a pre-recorded webinar. They can even ask questions that I can reply to via text, and they don't know it's a recorded webinar.
I have been playing with that platform, and it is incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Dude, so I'm using it for recruitment stuff. I'm going to make an evergreen recruitment. Dude, it's so good. Anyway, so do you guys catch that? Those of you watching this, once you dial in the webinar, it feels like it's live. But if someone asks questions, they can't tell if anyone's watching or not if it's live. And you can drive to like, hey, it's going to start at 2:00. Whatever you drive it to a specific day and time, correct?
Yep.
And then when they text a question, you could be out hanging out with your family at the beach, but the webinar is running and just keep an eye on your phone. And if questions come in live, do you have to go in the app to reply or is it just?
Yeah. On Click Meeting, you have to be in the app. But that's no big deal.
No, I mean, easy enough.
Yeah.
All right. Dude, I love that. All right. So Josh has got a question. Let's see here. Thank you, Zach, for putting in. Here's a link to the to Click Meeting if anyone wants to check. We make $0 affiliate dollars, although Dave, maybe you should get paid something for promoting them. No. All right. Josh is actually Brian's partner, by the way, who was here in studio with us. Josh says, being on advertising, he says, what's your follow-up campaign for those who are interested?
First thing, call, and then it's email, but it's, and we have a pretty good website. We use Sierra Interactive as our website. So it's pretty robust as far as keeping in touch with them. If they're in our farm, they're already getting our stuff, so that's good. But if they're not, then it's call, email, and text message, auto text messages.
I love it. All right, what other questions you guys got? This isn't Ask Me Anything. This is we do have about 17 hours booked, so no rush for questions. No, I'm kidding. We're here as long as we need to be. But what questions you guys got here? I'm scanning the Facebook feed. Let's see. If not, I'll keep asking my questions. Biggest mistake you've made doing these things?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay. Realizing that we're going to do the webinar at 4:00, but at 4:00, my gardener shows up and I should have known, right? So realize when you're scheduling it, what's going on in your world, in your house or in your office or wherever you're going to be. lighting's important. So, I mean, we started one webinar. I forget, it was a little bit later, but by about halfway through, it was freaking dark in my room, and I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah.
So try and think about things that can go wrong.
Do you get a lot of interaction live? Because when the way you use the webinar platform, it's not like a Zoom meeting. You can't see anybody else. It's literally this. They can only see you.
Yeah.
You see them, correct?
Yeah, have plans. So we have people on our team who are on the webinar, and they'll ask questions just to kind of get the ball rolling. Because when real participants see other people ask questions, then they feel it's safe, and then they'll ask questions. Do a poll. Polls get people to raise their hand. See if you can get anybody who's interactive. The person that's asking questions or is really interactive is probably your hottest lead.
Yeah.
So try and find them. Give them a reason to raise their hand.
And do you have any calls to action at the end of the webinar? Do you have anything that you say? What's your call to action?
Yeah, like the one we did Friday, the call to action, it was the multi-unit webinar. Don't buy a house, buy multi-units. So the call to action was a banner that showed up that said, click this banner and go right to our website to search for multi-unit properties.
And did they have to register to search then, or was there any sort of capture?
I think they went in for free, and then they don't need to register because we have their contact information already.
Got it. You're literally just trying to have them start searching, and then you're gonna, since you already have the content, then you're gonna follow up anyway. You just want to drive behavior.
I just want to know, of the people that showed up, who do I need to call first?
Right.
Like the guy that went in and started looking for property, he's the guy you want to call first. The person that's asking, how much does staging cost?
Right.
You need to call that guy immediately. Those are like serious buying signals.
Right. Do you have their, like when they ask questions, can you tell, are they anonymous, or can you tell who it is that's asking?
Good question. You can do it either way.
Okay.
Like the last one I was going to do, we did it and it was not anonymous. But for the one I'm going to do for recruiting, I want to make it anonymous.
Right. Got it. And we should talk offline about the recruiting one. That'd be really fun to brainstorm.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. So anybody watching, Chrissy Connor said this was great. I'm glad you liked it, Chrissy. If you got any more questions, we'll go a few more minutes. Otherwise, we'll boil this down soon. But I think it really goes down in my mind to the marketing to drive to the webinar. I mean, maybe people have questions around what to say in the actual webinar. If you have questions on that to me is the easy part, but I don't know. People watching, what do you think? What's the easy part? Is the doing the webinar the easy part, or is that what's stopping you? Is it not what to say?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I will agree with you 100%. Once you've done the lead generating part, the webinar doesn't matter. I could juggle, okay? But I've already completed the lead gen part.
Can you actually juggle?
I cannot juggle.
That would be a terrible webinar.
It might actually be more fun. But just think about it that way. The most important part is the lead gen. Okay. The webinar, they're going to like whatever you do. You know why? Because you're a realtor and you know your stuff, and you can speak real estate for 20 minutes. I guarantee you can do it. You're putting on a webinar every time you have an open house. Okay. Whenever you're on a listing presentation, you're performing. You can do this. So if you can get people there at 2:00 on a Wednesday, you're doing your job. You're lead generating. You'll be great. You'll connect with them. Don't overthink it. You're good. If you're watching this and you're selling real estate, you're good enough to do it. 100%.
And if they're watching this and they want practice, just send me a message. We'll do Ask Me Anything with you. They can practice right here in the Agent Power Huddle Facebook group. we'll have a webinar and anything they want. Go teach us something. I love it.
The commercial is the most important part, in my opinion.
All right, so before we wrap up, then let's break down the commercial. What are the elements how long is the commercial?
About 1 minute.
1 minute. And do you have an example like queued up of one that really worked well? I don't even know how we play it at StreamYard. We can figure it out though.
Let me see. I'll go into the, I do.
I'll
go to the Facebook page right now and post a link to the first commercial. How's that?
Perfect. That's awesome.
Hang on a second. Let me pull that up.
Yeah, it's in the thread here. So we should be right at the top of this live. Just drop it in the comments, and then I can click on it, or you can even put it in the messages of this thing. I can, if you private chat it here, I think I can share it with audio. One of these things say share audio. Let's see here. Share. Nope. Oh, that made me big on the screen. Look at that. Hi, Dave. Hold on. Dave should be big. There you go. Hi, Dave. All right. Yep. That one.
Okay. Let me hope this thing works.
Let's see. All right, share screen. There we go.
Okay, I'm going to go into I'm on my phone. I'm going to go into the Agent Power Huddle.
Yep.
Give me a sec.
We have people hanging around watching me play with StreamYard on camera. I didn't know I could do all those fun things.
Yeah, right? It's good stuff.
Should I get my guitar? Should we sing? All right. Is the comment in there now? Let's see.
Agent Power Huddle.
Yep. So by the way, guys, if for some reason you're in this group and you have not seen Agent Power Huddle at 8 a.m. in the morning, I can only imagine that you know what Agent Power Huddle is, but just in case, there's agentpowerhuddle.com, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. every day. We've got agentpowerhuddle.com. We'll take you to where we talk to people like Dave, and we do fun stuff on a daily basis.
I just put the link in the Agent Power Huddle. It's actually a Facebook link, so it goes right to the ad and the invite.
All right. So which one am I? So which one's? What's this? What's this one here? This is the. Is this you in a blue suit? Let me share my screen.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, share screen. This one here. Share audio. All right. So which one is this?
Number 1.
All right. So this is the ad.
Yeah.
All right.
Hi, I'm Dave Robles with Think Real Estate. If you are planning on selling your home this year, you need a new game plan. Today, the County of Los Angeles just extended the stay-at-home order to at least May 15th. So I'm inviting you to a seller strategy session on Friday, April 17th at 4 p.m., where we will go over 4 points. Number 1, how to time the sale of your home so you can take advantage of the market after coronavirus. Number 2, how to sell your home as is without leaving any money on the table. Number 3, what ads your realtor should be running for you that actually work in selling your home. And number 4, how to negotiate with the 3 types of buyers that are out there right now. So join us next Friday, April 17th at 4 p.m. Sign up below, and we'll answer all your questions and put you in the right position to sell your home. Thanks.
Love it.
That was it.
All right. Easy.
We've done them for buyers. We've done them for sellers. We've done them for investors. It doesn't matter what the topic is.
I love it. I love it. Love it. That was simple, sweet, and it really helps me to see it, Dave, because you are so. It's just short, concise, sweet, but it also opens a hook. Like you definitely are opening a hook with people.
Yeah.
And
that's super important, Jesse, because no one wants to sit through some how to buy anything webinar, how to sell anything. Be really specific about your points. Make them enticing.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And Josh says, great video, Dave. There you go.
Thanks, man.
I love it.
Make it something that people can't find from a quick Google search.
Yeah. And this, by the way, I don't know enough about video. On your Think Real Estate page, and I don't want to put it back up again. Actually, I will put it up. No, I'm not going to put it up again. I was kind of laughing. Did you happen to notice the name of the videos that were playing next to the side? Or is that because of I don't watch videos on Facebook. Is that videos that it thinks I want to watch, or videos that Think Real Estate thinks we should watch?
I think it's what you want to watch. Because you clicked it and it went to your.
If you look at later back at this video, I'm not going to put it back on the screen again. You got to go back and watch this replay.
What did it have?
What?
What did it have?
You want to see it? Hold on.
Not really. No.
No. The first one says, "Would you shower with him?" with a dude with his shirt off. The second one says, "Appearing bra magic trick." The second one says, "Are you the girl I effed last night?" Like, what are these?
Oh my God.
I literally don't watch videos on Facebook. Now I'm embarrassed.
That's
what does Facebook think about that? Why does Facebook think this is what I like to watch? Anyway, I'm very confused.
They just probably know your age and
this is what tracks for a 41-year-old male and 41-year-old white male in San Diego. This is apparently what is good clickbait for him.
Right.
Anyway, this was fun. This is really fun.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Any last thoughts? Anything you want to wrap up before we wrap this thing up?
No, reach out if you want more details about it. I am so happy to help, give you advice, go over a script with you. But just to recap, put 4 really specific items, do a little commercial, put some money behind it. We graduated up to a $300 budget from our original one. Do it buyer or seller. And once you do the lead gen, the job's done. We have slides. I mean, I can share with you slides too if you want. And I get a lot of content, by the way, from Keeping Current Matters. If you're familiar with that, highly recommend it. Their data that they give on the market, for example, is incredible. So I wouldn't do a webinar without KCM. We lost Jay-Z. Oh, there he is.
They delivered my lunch. There was someone knocking on the door. I wanted to make sure they didn't keep knocking.
Cool. All right.
This is the part of informal. See, Dave, you want me to buy you lunch? Here's my lunch. We got Himalayan kitchen. If you're hungry now, so where we're living. But yeah, it's a. So when you say you get your stuff from Keeping Current Matters, you mean the stuff for the webinar or the stuff for the commercials about the webinar?
No, for the stuff for the webinar, because one of the things, part of the webinar is market stats, especially back in April when everyone was just freaked out about what's going to happen. No one knew what was going to happen. I mean, come on, let's face it. If you knew back in March or April, who had any idea that September and October would be this crazy busy? I mean,
yeah, not
scared shitless. I didn't know what the heck to expect back in April for the rest of the year, real estate wise.
Yeah,
and I think we got really lucky. I don't know why, but we got lucky.
Yeah, and Zach just put a post and said, "Current content is king." 100%, right? That's keeping current absolutely matters. And then Leticia said, I wanted one last question before we wrap up. How long did you say your webinars were?
Good question. My first one was really long. It was almost an hour. You don't want to go over an hour. I think people schedule an hour. One of my other teammates did, her webinar ended up being like an hour and 10 minutes. And it was funny, but at the hour mark, like 70% of the people dropped off. They were done. So I say keep it to like 30 minutes, maybe 40 at the most, and not go over an hour. Oh, you're going to make mistakes too. Like in my first webinar, I was so embarrassed. I was trying to share my screen, and I was like the befuddled professor trying to share my screen, only to realize that I was already sharing my screen. So you're going to do stuff that's embarrassing, and it's okay.
That is funny. And it's kind of real. It's authentic. Yeah. In your evergreen webinar, do you ever put any like fake mistakes in there just so that people feel like it's real?
No, but they're there anyway. But what we do have to do with the evergreen is edit out timestamps. Like in the first one, I was talking about how hot it was. Okay, we got rid of all that, and try and get rid of anything that lets on to what time of day it is.
Yeah, love it. So windowless rooms, right?
Yeah. Or if you're like, if I'm going to do one now, I'm not going to do this at night. I'm not going to say, join me 9:00 on Friday night if it's a daytime.
Do you shoot your webinar? Like, so speaking where you shoot it, let me change the view here. Yeah. This one. Do you shoot your webinar right there, just like hanging out in your living room or wherever you are right now?
Most of them are shot right here. Some I do in my living room, which was the scene you saw in the commercial.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you invite people over to your house to shoot webinars, or do they have to have their own house for a webinar?
No, you can shoot them anywhere, man.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
Right there. This one, I like this one the best.
Yeah.
What other, any last questions, guys, before we wrap this thing up? I know I promised 17 hours, but this feels like the appropriate amount of content for an Ask Me Anything.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, this was the very first one.
Wow. I'm totally honored.
I feel grateful that you were here. Like I brag about you all the time. You have so many amazing marketing ideas, and you're always pushing the envelope of what is possible in real estate marketing. And here's yet another example of just something.
Thanks, bud. I appreciate you saying that. I think real estate is fun if you make it fun. It could be a grind, and I'd prefer it not to be, but so make it fun.
Dude, I love it. Oh, actually, I do have another question because we're going to start doing this with our team in San Diego. So do you have agents on your team do it when you do a webinar with them? Are they on the webinar with you? Are you doing a webinar for them? How do you set that up with them?
Good question. When my team does a webinar for their farm, we do it together. And I'm kind of interviewing them because they're a little apprehensive about running the show themselves. So we do it more like I'm interviewing them and they're the expert.
Love it. So those of you who are team members, if you're watching this and you're going to go tell your team leader, be like, yo, team leader, I want to do one of these. Absolutely partner up with them. If you're a team leader and you want to get the team members involved, there's all sorts of ways to do this. And you don't, if you join the broadcast late, if Dave said earlier, you don't need to have a really established farm to do this. You can do it brand new and cold traffic, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay.
And be interviewed. I think being interviewed is really a way to show that you are an expert. When someone, like, all you guys think I know what I'm talking about because Jesse is interviewing me. That's just how it works, you know? But like, have your team member or team leader interview you, you'll look like you will be the expert.
That is pretty cool. I love it. But in this case, Dave, you do happen to know a lot, so it's really easy.
Thanks,
so
bud.
yeah. All right. Everybody, enjoy your day. Enjoy the rest of what's going on wherever you are in the world today.
All right.
Bye, guys.
We're out. Take care.